Hello. Have you ever used the Uber app to catch a lift? This Uber app is a brilliant example of our certainty addiction. They have taken advantage of our bias towards certainty. The Uber map never ever promises to reduce your waiting time, but it does make your waiting time less frustrating. Why? Because they give you the time it's going to take for your Uber to get there. So the uncertainty of waiting bothers us more than knowing the duration of how long we will wait. And these biases are active all the time, not only in the Uber app, in terms of they've taken advantage of it, but advertising every day takes advantage of it. If you're buying something and you're online and you get to the click place and you're thinking about the uncertainty of, once I get this, am I going to like it? Is it going to fit me if it's clothes? Is it going to be worth the money? Then they tap into the same cognitive bias, our bias for certainty, by saying, click now, 100% money guaranteed. You can get your money back if you don't like the item. So in that moment, they are actually taking away our uncertainty or reducing it. So we end up clicking. And then research will tell you, well, you know what, most people don't actually use the 100% money back guarantee. Our brains crave certainty. We literally release a dopamine reward when we know what's going to happen. They did research in 2018 at the University of London and University College of London. And this research was really fascinating because they studied a group of people and a control group where there were snakes under some of the rocks, and they had to lift up the rocks and see if there was a snake under there or not. Okay, so imagine yourself having to lift up a rock. Someone says there could be a snake under there. Maybe there's a snake under there. Maybe there's not a snake under there. And the group that didn't know, every time they lift up a rock, is there a snake under here or isn't there a snake under there? Okay. They were way more stressed than the group where they said, these are the rocks and the snakes are under these ones. Okay. You still have to lift them up, but you'll know which ones have a snake underneath. And that group was less stressed. Knowing the certainty of what they were going to face actually reduced their stress. So can you think of a time in your life where you've had that moment, that uncertainty? And even if you get the bad news at the end of the day, it's less stressful for your body than when you didn't know. And think of a decision you've had to make where you can go back and forth, and the decision-making time is more stressful than when you've picked the certain path and there's no way back now. This is the path. So one reason we're hardwired to seek certainty, and in a world where there's actually very little certainty, is due to our brain's brilliant capacity for prediction. Now, what do we mean by that? So Jeff Hawkins, who is the gentleman who's the founder of the Neuroscience Institute, he says it like this. He says, the brain receives patterns from the outside world. It stores them as memories, and it makes predictions by combining what it's seen before, that pattern, with what it's seeing happening right now. Prediction is the primary function of our neocortex, our thinking brain, and it's really the foundation of intelligence. So we get these cues all the time from our environment. It's like being in a snowstorm. There's so much out there, but we need to pick something to focus on. And what we pick is determined by the data that we choose is determined by recognizing patterns. Okay. The brain likes patterns. And David Rock, also the co-founder of the Neuro Leadership Institute, he says it's like an addiction to anything. Okay. When the craving for certainty is met, there's a sensation of reward. The ability to predict and then obtain data that meets the prediction, well, that generates an overall towards response. That's a really good feeling. Have you ever played games like Sudoku on your phone? Sudoku, or the crossword puzzle. We do Wordle. We've got a family Wordle group. And it becomes quite addictive because you go in, you do the Wordle each day, and a day that there's so much uncertainty, you get the enjoyment of having a win, okay? Or you get the certainty that you didn't do it. But in a very short space of time, you actually get back the results, and it gives you a little rush, a little feeling. And the emotions that are associated with the perception of certainty are things like satisfaction, right? Contentment, calmness, confidence. It definitely means that we want to do something again, okay? And a sense of relief. So these are the kinds of things that it brings stability and safety. And when our pattern-seeking brain searches for a pattern, finds it, and we get that right, we get that reward. And because everything we do in life is based on the brain's drive to minimize danger and maximize reward, our emotional, our limbic part of our brain is constantly scanning the environment for threats. And David Rock refers to these reactions as either towards or away responses. So we've got towards responses help us to move in the direction of the reward, and the away responses means we want to go away from threat. So we have this quest for certainty, and the Uber app is just one illustration of how meeting that need actually can get us quite addicted to using the app, rather than to phone a taxi and we have no idea what time that's coming. So this hypervigilant part of our brain, the limbic system, once it's activated, it's like goes on guard, and it's difficult. It brings all these big feelings, a lot of stuff to manage. There's like this flood, and it's hard to disengage once you've activated this century, this guard. Okay? So we crave certainty, and uncertainty brings out fear, and it brings out anxiety. So it's important to understand how we are actually wired for this. And then it helps us to explore more effective ways to deal with it.